Of Gilgul. Gilgul is reincarnation, coming back to this world another time to fulfill your mission again. He says part of Judaism is to emunah Gilgul. You have to believe in reincarnation. This will help a person have fear of Hashem and fear of punishment, because he has to know that if he does not work on himself, even if you did many mitzvot, but you did not come to fulfill your purpose in the world, and you did not work on what's hard for you. A person could say, I learned. A person could say, I give tzedakah. A person could say, he did all the mitzvot except the one thing that is hard for him. He did not work on. He will have to come back, Gilgul, again, to fix it. Therefore, a person has to try to work on himself completely and do all the mitzvot, and not do only some of the mitzvot. This is this week's Parashat Ekev. That the mitzvot that a person steps on with his heel. A person likes to choose big mitzvot. The small mitzvot, he says, no. The person has to make sure that he doesn't do that, or else, God forbid, could be the person will come back Gilgul. Where the Arizal said many times what different reasons a person can come back as a reincarnation. He said, for example, someone who speaks Lashon Hara, what does he come back as in Gilgul? He comes back as a dog. Or he says someone who looks and doesn't guard his eyes, he looks at Arayot, he comes back as what? As a Gilgul, as a certain bird. As this would be Gilgul of and Nikrat Ra'ah. So therefore, a person has to make sure not to mezalzeh, disgrace these mitzvot, and rather keep all of them in order that, God forbid, he should not come back Gilgul. And therefore he says that the person, when he has in mind this idea of Gilgul, he says what he's going to do. He's going to remember how great Hashem is, because we know in Parashat Hazinu it says that Hashem is what? Kol derachah mishpat el emunah ve'en avel. The Baruch Hu is a justice, and he's straight, and he doesn't make any crookedness. He does the right judgment. So how could it be? We see people who suffer. We see people who do good things and they suffer. We see people, little kids, come to this world, they're sick with cancer, or God forbid, they're born with deformities, or they're born with mental illnesses. Why? He says, what did they do wrong? Why did Hashem make them suffer? But now that we know this concept of reincarnation, we can know they're coming back to fulfill their tikkun, and they had some issue from the last reincarnation. They're coming back just to fulfill their tikkun, and some of them passed away very young. And the Arizal says because the reason is because they lived their whole life. They didn't mitzvah in the previous life. They come back to this world to live a short life to fulfill that tikkun that they missed, and then that's it. There's a story that the Mekubalim bring, or Rav Arush brings it in the Garden of Emunah. He says that there was a story of a very religious couple. They got married. They had a child, and something happened to them. Goyim killed their child, and then afterwards, the husband, he got very sick and he died. And everybody says, he's such a tzaddik. Why did this happen to his kid? He's such a tzaddik. Why did he get sick and all of a sudden die? And then they both came to him and to the lady in the dream, the wife, and told them that we were doing a tikkun. We were Gilgul. Previous life, we were big tzaddikim. We were missing a small amount of mitzvot, a small idea. And what happened? The baby lived a few years. Well, because in the previous life, it was taken by Goyim, and she was acting as a Goy for the first few years of her life, and then afterwards she was recovered and she lived her whole life as a Jew. So she came back to this world for a few years just to live those few years as a Jew again, and afterwards she passed away. And the husband, he was a big tzaddik in his entire life previously in the last Gilgul, but all he needed was to have kids. He didn't have kids in the last Gilgul, so he came back this Gilgul, he had kids. As soon as he had kids, that's it, he passed away. He got sick and he passed away. So you see that a lot of times a person came in the middle of the show. He came in the middle of the plan. Person can't say, why Hashem do you do this? What's wrong with Hashem? Why does Hashem have something against me? What did I do to him? I'm doing mitzvot and Hashem does this to me. Person has to realize either a person sinned and he's suffering for his sins, or maybe it's not even a sin from now, it's a sin from previous Gilgul. So therefore a person has to give benefit of doubt to himself, give benefit of doubt to Hashem. If you go to a court case, you and Hashem, right? You're charging Hashem, you're suing Hashem, God forbid, and you say to the judge, Hashem is wrong. Hashem did something wrong to me. He made me suffer for no reason. Who do you think is most probably right? Most probably HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right. What do you mean? How could Hashem do something wrong? Hashem loves us more than we love ourselves. So therefore a person has to realize Hashem knows what he's doing, and most likely, if it's not understandable in this life, it's probably something from the previous life.